How y'all doing? I hope you're having a great day. Last night I found a video on YouTube which I found very interesting and very enlightening. Essentially, the RCMP dropped the ball. They have evidence, they have absolute evidence that Trudeau committed a crime, and they have enough to lay a charge. Or at least that's what it appears from this video. So I'm going to play that video for you right now, and then we'll have a short discussion about it afterwards.
I have questions for you that come from an access to information request. It's ATIP A-2021-02029. It deals with a decision tree from section 121(1)(c) of the Criminal Code, fraud on government. I provided both you, Commissioner, and the Staff Sergeant with this just before the meeting started, just as we moved through the document. So in this decision tree, it asks a series of questions. The first question, was Mr. Trudeau a government official at the time that he took a vacation to Bell's Cay?
I'm going to edit some of this out because I have watched a portion of this, and the Liberals are just wasting time here. And in the end, nothing is accomplished. They make a big deal about nothing, and it takes up a few minutes. So I will edit this out.
Yeah, I don't need the approval of Liberal members for the material that I'm going to ask questions on. This one's very straightforward. It's a decision tree on section 121(1)(c) of the Criminal Code, fraud on government. It's by the RCMP, and they've populated information on the document. It asks a series of questions with respect to Justin Trudeau's visit to the Aga Khan Island, Bell's Cay. Was Mr. Trudeau a government official at the time? And it says yes. Did Mr. Trudeau accept a benefit from the Aga Khan? It says yes. Did the Aga Khan have dealings with the government? It says yes. Then it says, did Mr. Trudeau have consent in writing of the head of a branch of government for whom he worked? It says unknown. At that point it says, if yes, then the final verdict would be not guilty. But it goes on, if no, did Mr. Trudeau know that he accepted was a benefit from a person who had dealings with the government? Yes. And then if yes, it says, final verdict, guilty of fraud on the government. Now, we know that, in fact, Mr. Trudeau did not have a writing from the head of branch of the government for whom he worked, because that question was put to him in the House of Commons. He was asked, in the House, it was asked, did the Prime Minister give himself permission to take that free holiday in 2016, to which Justin Trudeau replied, Mr. Speaker, no. He was asked again on April 26, 2022. Again, the answer was no. So Conservatives put the question to the Prime Minister to answer the only open question on whether or not the RCMP should lay a charge of fraud on government against Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in the case of his illegal vacation to Bell's Cay. Now, illegal it was certainly law-breaking in that it broke the Conflict of Interest Act. The question is, did it break Section 121(1)(c) of the Criminal Code? Commissioner, did the RCMP call Mr. Trudeau and ask him the question?
I would have to ask Mr. Pinsins, because I wasn't getting ready for the Aga Khan file, and I'm not as familiar with the Aga Khan file as we are with the Jody Wilson report.
Staff Sergeant?
Yes, so, Mr. Chair, so all I should have to point in relation to this specific decision tree is, of course, this is one part of a multiple pages document, so of course this is only an excise part of this. And now to answer the question as far as did we contact the Prime Minister in relation to this one? No.
Okay, so he wasn't asked, and it was left in the document as unknown, and the only open question on whether or not it met the standard of fraud on government. I want to refer to that same ATIP, and a Sergeant Arbor, who was the team lead for SII Team 3, said, quote, if further information of evidentiary value is to be received, SII will review and determine the appropriate course of action. On the key question of if Justin Trudeau had consent to engage in the activity, the only question was if Prime Minister Justin Trudeau committed fraud on government. The RCMP didn't pick up the phone, but Conservatives asked him the question. We got the answer. And that answer is publicly available. and it was not protected like transcripts from a committee. So it could be used and has evidentiary value. Knowing that, and knowing based on that decision tree, wouldn't that affect the decision of the RCMP to lay a charge of fraud on government against the Prime Minister if all of the criteria set out in the decision tree from Watt's Manual of Criminal Jury Instruction were satisfied? Wouldn't that new evidence satisfy your investigation?
Again, Mr. Chair, I'm not in a position to say all the evidence that we had or we didn't have. It would warrant a follow-up on that file and come back to this committee explaining what we had on file and the reasons why we didn't lay any charges. But I'm not in a position right now to say what evidence we had that came to the point that we didn't lay any charges.
Well, with due respect, Commissioner, the only outstanding question on the decision tree provided in the ATIP was whether or not the Prime Minister had consent. It was the RCMP said it was unknown. We satisfied an answer to that question and that he did not. And based on this document, it says final verdict, guilty of fraud on government.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. That concludes your 14-minute round. Ms. Khalid, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, as you can see from that video, the decision tree referred to by the Member of Parliament and presented to the Commissioner, as a matter of fact, he got it from the RCMP, clearly shows that Justin Trudeau should have been charged with a crime, fraud on government. And he wasn't, so why wasn't he? Now, what's very concerning about this is the RCMP had everything they needed except one piece of information. Did Trudeau have, in writing, permission to accept a gratuity from Agricon? And he admitted in Parliament that he didn't. That can be used against him in an investigation and at trial. The fact that he admitted something in an open forum in Parliament, that can be used against him. The RCMP did not call Trudeau, did not request to interview Trudeau. Why? I think that they dropped the ball on this. Why did they drop the ball? Did they do it on purpose? I don't know. But they dropped the ball. They were not prepared to enter into the committee all the other evidence that led them to the decision not to charge Trudeau. That may or may not come at a later point. But if the decision document, the decision tree, shows that they had all of the elements to prove the offense, then there has to be something very, very clear in the other evidence that would convince them not to go forward. I'm not convinced that there's anything in the other evidence that would lead them to that conclusion. But I'm prepared to give the RCMP the benefit of the doubt, and I certainly hope that they present that evidence. I would encourage the RCMP to lay a charge. I would encourage Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party to push for a charge to be laid, because it is abundantly clear from the testimony today, or 9 days ago, or whenever this was filmed, that he committed a crime. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Please like and subscribe, hit the bell notification button, share with your friends, and we'll see you next time.